Dear aspirants, welcome to our channel Trusted Brains IAS Strategist. Today we are going to discuss Indian polity, that is Preamble, the role and significance of Preamble in Indian Constitution. Now, what is Preamble? Preamble is an introduction to the Constitution of India. That means it reflects the ideals and aspirations of the forefathers of our Constitution. That means the ideals and values that our freedom fighters fought before getting independence. Okay. Now, there are two views regarding the nature and scope of Preamble. That means whether Preamble is a part of Constitution or not. Now, according to one view, that means a traditional view, Preamble is not a part of the Constitution. It has a limited role to play. It is insignificant. That means if any provision of the Preamble is removed from the Constitution, it does not affect the entire working of the Constitution or functioning of the government. That means it does not have any impact on the nature or working of the Constitution or any government organ. So, the traditionals say that Preamble is not a part of the Constitution because it has a very limited role to play. Okay, but Supreme Court in one of the cases stated that if there is any ambiguity in the provisions of the Constitution, means if there is a clash between two provisions of the Constitution, then Preamble provides a key or an answer to the clash or ambiguity. So, we can refer to the provisions of the Preamble if there is a clash between the two provisions of the Constitution. That means it will act as a guiding force to the nature or provisions of the Constitution. So, it clears the ambiguity that prevails among the interpretation of the constitutional provisions. So, here it highlighted the significance of the Preamble. Now, there is another view called as modern view or the integral view, which says that Preamble is a part of the Constitution. And here one important point we have to understand is we have to remember one landmark case which is interpreted by the Supreme Court in the traditional view. As we discussed earlier, according to the traditional view, Preamble is not a part of the Constitution. There, Supreme Court cited one example in a case known as Supreme Court versus Ray Berubari versus Union of India. In Ray Berubari versus Union of India 1960, Supreme Court stated that Preamble is not a part of the Constitution. Okay. Now, according to modern view, which says that Preamble is a part of the Constitution, and in support of this argument, Supreme Court stated that in Keshwananda Bharati versus Union of India, Preamble is a part of the Constitution. In this case, the Supreme Court interpreted the provisions of the Constitution and stated that Preamble is a part of the Constitution. Now, what is the scope of the Preamble? The scope of the Preamble is very important for us to understand the provisions of the Constitution. We have to study the scope in order to understand the significance and provisions of the Constitution. For example, through 42nd Amendment Act, we have added socialist and secularism in the Constitution, in the Preamble. So, in the Preamble, there are 5 ideals are there. What are those 5 ideals? Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And the socialist and secularism feature or provision was added to 42nd Amendment in the Constitution. So we can say that preamble is significant because the two most important provisions interpreted by the Supreme Court or which is called as the basic provisions or basic structure of the constitution, and those basic structure or provisions cannot be amended even by the fundamental rights, even for the interpretation of for enforcement of any of the provisions or rights of the constitution. This basic structure should not be amended. So here preamble plays a pivotal role. So preamble is significant. Preamble is called as the part of the constitution. Now, actually, what is the significance of preamble? The significance lies in the very fact that it starts with the saying, "We the people of India." Firstly, we can say that the sovereign power here lies with the people. Though the parliament is sovereign, though parliament consists of the political executives, they are elected by the people. So, and the representatives are elected by whom? People. Though the political executive or the representatives elected by the people elect the head of the government, but still the sovereign power lies with the people. So the saying starts, "We the people of India," and the constitutional ideals and values like socialism, secularism, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, these are called as aspirations. So our freedom fighters have fought for the aspirations and got freedom from the British rule. So why they fought against the British? Because to achieve these ideals and aspirations. So immediately after achieving independence or gaining freedom from British rule, we have enacted our constitution and formulated a preamble with the saying, "We the people of India." Now, the second most important point is there is an enabling clause in the preamble which says that the constitution was adopted on November 26th, 1949. So this was the day when the constitution was adopted. So the enabling provision was inserted in the preamble. So the very provision lies in the preamble that the constitution was enacted on November 26, 1949, on which date the constitution came into force. So these two are the important features which says that or which supports the view that preamble is very significant and called as the preamble is an integral part of the constitution. Now, the another significant point here is if there is any clash between the two provisions of the constitution. For example, the government wants to implement socialistic ideals for achieving or for reduction of poverty, for reduction of economic inequalities, or for implementation of the directive principles of state policy. So as part of implementation of the government's welfare programs, it will be implementing it will be enforcing the ideals in the directive principles. As part of the implementation, it may lead to the clash between the provisions of fundamental rights and directive principles. So when there is a clash, for example, between the directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights, the Supreme Court interprets the key to the constitution. It is preamble. In one of the cases, Supreme Court also stated that preamble is the key to unravel the minds of the constitution makers. That means it is a key. That means it acts as a source, it acts as a guide or lighthouse towards the implementation of the welfare objectives of the constitution. So preamble is very important or plays a significant role in the implementation of the governmental welfare programs or in the implementation of directive principles of the state policy and the ideals and aspirations for which our freedom fighters have fought. So here we can say that though preamble has a limited role to play, it is very essential and important to consider the provisions or the values or ideals and aspirations in the preamble when it comes to the interpretation of the key provisions of the constitution. Okay, thank you.